Hey, Instagram followers, do you know why you believe what you believe at your very core? Well, come on into this Instagram Live, hit that little button down there in the corner, and watch today's episode of Jimmy Rants. JimmyRants.com is the website, and as always, you can engage live in the content, but you really need to go follow me. I'm over on Instagram. I'm at Livin' Low Carb Man, LIVIN LOWCARBMAN. Once you're there, you can engage live just like all these amazing people coming in right here. Thank you guys for being here today on Jimmy Rants. If you missed the live, you can watch it on replay over on IGTV. It's a new feature that Instagram has done. They used to keep up the Instagram lives for up to 24 hours and then they disappear. Well, now they let you save it as an Instagram TV, IGTV, and it's there forever and ever, amen. So go check out the replay on IGTV. We also simulcast over here on my Facebook page, so thank you guys for being here today, as well as on my YouTube channel. I do a live stream of all the Jimmy Rants episodes. So thank you all for being here today on Jimmy Rants. If you missed the live, pop on over to JimmyRants.com. We got all the archived, we're quickly approaching 500 episodes of Jimmy Rants, so that's pretty cool. And then also over on YouTube, we have an archive section as well. Just go to YouTube, type in a keyword Jimmy Rants, and if you want to look for some specific topic I might have talked about, put in like Jimmy Rants Vegan, Jimmy Rants Dietary Guidelines, Jimmy Rants Cholesterol, and you will find specific episodes that I've done. Sometimes people will be like, have you ever done a Jimmy Rants on? And literally all I do is go to YouTube, Jimmy Rants, and some keyword, and up comes the rant that they were looking for. So use that feature. It's pretty cool. All right, so today I've got a really interesting topic for you, and it's more of a philosophical type of topic, but I think it's important to talk about these kinds of ones from time to time, because sometimes you need to stop and think about things from a different perspective. And maybe you've never even brought this kind of topic that I'm going to talk about here today to your own consciousness. Have you ever stopped to wonder why you believe the things you believe? Obviously, we all have our own personal backgrounds. We have our own life experiences. We've got things that have happened to us in our lives. We've got things that didn't happen to us in our lives. And all of this confluence of all these different angles of things that have influenced us in our lives shape us as who we are and shape who and what we believe. And your family that you grew up in tends to be that first point of impression of what you believe. And then you get out on your own, maybe you go off to college and get influenced by professors, you get influenced by friends maybe that you meet, experiences that you have, then maybe you find a mate and get married, and you're influenced by them, and then your kids come up and different. So there's all these different ways that you form your belief system. So have you ever thought about how those core values that you hold on to deeper than anything else, how you came to believe them? Where did that come from? And here's the big question: what if some of them are actually wrong? And not values, but beliefs. What if some of those beliefs you have are actually wrong? Like proven to be wrong, like they've come out with evidence that shows it's flat out wrong, and yet you still believe it. We're going to get deep today, guys. Hang on to your hats. And I want to underscore this one with a news story that literally just came out today. And this is from a local ABC affiliate. It doesn't say, oh, here it is, in Pennsylvania. Johnson & Johnson, everybody knows that brand, they're going to stop selling their talcum-based baby powder in the US and Canada. Have you heard about this? Johnson & Johnson is ending sales of its iconic talc-based Johnson's baby powder in the US and Canada. How many of you grew up with Johnson's baby powder? Yeah, a lot of us did. Like my mama used to have that around the house, and it was, they call it baby powder, but you literally use it for all kinds of personal care things with the body. And there's a lot of people that they stand by it, they love it, and they have for years. So I talked to a friend just this morning. I said, did you ever use like Johnson's baby powder? Oh no, my mom, she was very against using that. I said, oh, really? And I was already working on this story. Really? Why was she against it? Oh, well, she heard that it leads to ovarian cancer. Have you heard that before? Was that something that was in your belief system that you heard, and thus you believed that talcum powder led to ovarian cancer? When I was talking to her, I'm like, okay, so did you ever introduce it once you had? Oh no, I never. Oh, well, were you scared of the ovarian cancer? No. I just, because I never used it, I never thought the need to have it other than for babies. I'm like, that's interesting. So you weren't influenced because of the belief that you thought it would lead to ovarian cancer. You just, because you never used it, it never became a part of your day-to-day life. That's right. So what if your mom did embrace it and have it in the house? You probably would have ended up using it too. So it's really fascinating that one little belief about the ovarian cancer has kept this product out of her house. Well, now so many people are scared the bejeebies out of Johnson's baby powder causing ovarian cancer that they're not selling much of it anymore, and so they have to discontinue the use of it. Demand has dwindled amongst thousands of lawsuits that claim it causes cancer. It's the world's biggest maker, Johnson & Johnson, of healthcare products. And on Tuesday, they said it will still be sold outside of the U.S. and Canada. So the rest of the world, they're not worried about talcum powder. But because a big stink is being made about it in North America, they're going to discontinue it. So demand for talcum-based Johnson's baby powder in North America has been declining because changes in consumer habits fueled by the misinformation about the safety of our product and a constant barrage of litigation. Johnson & Johnson currently has 19,400 cases that allege talcum powder causes ovarian cancer through the use for feminine hygiene or mesothelioma, however you say that. It's a cancer that gets the lungs and organs. Of the cases that have been tried, they've had some wins, they've had some losses, and they've had some mistrials. All of the losses were overturned on appeal, or they're still in the appeal process. So the company insists that overwhelming evidence shows that talcum powder is completely safe and does not cause cancer. But here's the problem. Whether or not the powder actually causes cancer, people are hesitant to use it because they believe it causes cancer. And so a spokesperson for Johnson & Johnson said the company doesn't plan to settle any lawsuits and will vigorously defend their product. So isn't that interesting? That simply believing something to be true, even in the face of no evidence that supports it, people take action. People establish it as a core belief, and they're actually wrong. Now, some people will say, well, the science is really undetermined and we can't really trust that science. And so then the skepticism turns to the science that shows support for it. It's really fascinating. And so it got me to thinking, how do we come up with these core beliefs, and what do you do when you cling on so strongly to false beliefs? Why does your brain do that? So I found a news story that talks about that. Don't start that. No. Skunk, no. My cat's starting to make funky noises. I'm going to pop her. Is your belief system that you're supposed to interrupt me during Jimmy Rants? Don't do that. Okay, so this is from fastcompany.com. Why your brain clings to false beliefs even when it knows better. We evolved to be not just gullible, but stubborn about it. How do you calculate a dog's age in human years? Okay, let's do this real quick. How do you calculate a dog's age in human years? You know you're thinking of multiply by... Yes, everybody believes it's multiply by 7, right? So if it's a 7-year-old dog, it's a 49-year-old equivalent human. Most people think that, but you would be wrong. That was actually a totally made-up number that has been circulating around since the 13th century. Where do we get beliefs like this, and how do they persist for so long? The short answer is blame your brain. Listen to this, guys, because this is very powerful kind of as a psychological tool as to why we bring in information into our head and then we form such a strong bond with that information that it becomes a hardcore belief that's very difficult to break you off of. Why does your brain like to think that stuff is true? We form beliefs in a haphazard way, believing all sorts of things based just on what we hear out in the world, but really haven't researched for ourselves. This is like that Jimmy Rants I did the other day, talking about being mindful of just reading a health headline. And there's people that do that. Vitamin C will cure all the ails of the world. And it's just, that's the headline. And so people go, oh, vitamin C, and they start taking it willy-nilly without actually reading the story. And usually in the story, it's referencing some kind of a research study. And they just believe based on the headline. Why do we do that? We're going to talk about that. This is how we think we form belief. This is how everybody believes they form beliefs. Number one, you hear something. Number two, you think about it. You vet it out. Yeah, I can see. Okay, that makes sense. Okay, and you start processing. You determine whether it's true or false. And only after determining whether it's true or false does the belief become hardened. Everybody thinks that's the process. Hear it, analyze it, think about it, vet it out, true or false, and then that becomes the belief, right? Would you like to know how it really is? It turns out we actually form abstract beliefs in this way. First, you hear something, then you automatically believe it's true. Isn't that funny? It's kind of like you're innocent until proven guilty. We do that with ideas. We allow every idea that we see to first become innocent until proven guilty. So we automatically, whatever the headline says, whatever the study says, whatever you hear someone say, the first inclination is, yep, that's true. Only sometimes later on, if we have the time or the inclination, we will think about it and vet it out and then determine whether it is in fact true or false. So do you see how that second and third step get interchanged? How many people take the time and let's just face it, the effort to actually vet out all of these things that they hear? No, the human brain likes simplicity. The human brain likes it when things are cut and dry. And if something sounds true, then by golly, it's true. And so let's go into the diet world. How many of you, the first time you heard about saturated fat clogging arteries and thus leading to heart disease, how many of you just carte blanche believed it fact? I did, because then they also not only said that, but then they would show like a kitchen sink pipe, and they would pour fat down the kitchen sink drain. What did it do? It clogged the drain. And so therefore, if fat clogged the drain and it clogged that, then obviously it clogs our arteries, because we know we all have kitchen sink drains in our arteries, and we all believed it verifiably. Isn't this amazing that the default isn't to ponder and figure out if something is true or not? The default is you believe what you hear. And here's the thing too. In this world where we're not encouraging people to think, and people walk around all the time, they don't think at all, guess what happens? They hear something, immediately believe it, and never goes anywhere else. You know that's true. And so this is a damnation on our society, not encouraging cognitive thinking, not encouraging debate, not encouraging the sharing of different ideas that run counter to what we believe. Look at what's happening with COVID-19 right now. There are people trying to share other ideas, but they're being silenced. Why, pray tell, would they want to silence these voices? Because the mainstream narrative has certain things in it that they want people to believe, and because of this whole process we're talking about here, beliefs are pretty strongly formed at the very first hearing of something, and you automatically believe it's true right away, and very few people are vetting it out. So if you have someone come in and challenge that original belief and offer more information that would make you question and make you vet things out, then you could change your mind. The unfortunate thing is all of these core beliefs that we have in our brain are pretty much based on a whole lot of nothing. Now, we all want to think, okay, I believe what I believe, and it's based on really solid things. And a lot of you guys that follow Jimmy Rants, I make you think a lot on this show. So I would think that you're the kind of person that would not just automatically believe things are true. But even the best of us that are thinkers, how many of you find yourself thinking things are true just automatically? That's just the way the brain works, because it wants to have something to think about and believe in, right? So let's get back to this story. Back in 1991, Harvard psychologist Daniel Gilbert summarized centuries of research all about belief formation in this way. People are credulous creatures who find it very easy to believe and very difficult to doubt. In fact, believing is so easy, perhaps it's so inevitable, that it may be more like involuntary comprehension than it is rational assessment. Oh, did you get that? Your beliefs are more involuntary comprehension. In other words, you can be spoon-fed information and you'll believe it, most people, rather than thinking about something and coming to some rational conclusion about whether it's true or false through a thorough assessment. That's fascinating. And it should make you stop and wonder, why do you believe the things you believe? Hopefully this Jimmy Rants today is doing that for you. And when you're done listening today, thank you for listening, by the way, I want you to really think about these core things that you believe in your heart of hearts is true beyond all belief. And I want you to question them all. And I want you to think deeper about why you have that belief. 2 years later, Gilbert and his colleagues demonstrated through a series of experiments that our default is always to believe what we hear and read is true. This is why having a monotoned, repetitive type of message thrown out there, and not just with COVID-19, that's one, but even the nutrition stuff. Healthy whole grains. You hear healthy whole grains enough, guess what you think about whole grains? Oh, they must be healthy. Oh. Artery clogging saturated fat. What do you think about saturated fat? Oh, I guess it clogs your arteries. Why do you believe that? Simply because you heard it. Simply because you read it. Is this scaring you, how easy it is for you to start believing things? Now, again, I think you guys are the exception because you're a highly intelligent audience, but I think even the best of us do fall for this sometimes. And I want you to always catch yourself before you start believing something. Always, always, always think, why do I believe this? All the subjects in their experiments read a series of statements about a criminal defendant or a college student, and these statements were color-coded to make it clear whether they were true or false. Subjects under time pressure or who had cognitive load increased by a minor distraction made errors in recalling whether the statements were true or false. So maybe you're reading something online, maybe you're watching a TV news program, maybe you're listening to something on the radio. You get easily distracted. A kid screams your name, your boss calls from work, and all you remember is that you heard this information. You believe it. Isn't it fascinating how quickly you can be manipulated into thinking? And of course, we're all thinking, oh, there's no way that would work on me. But it's human nature. These guys have really looked at this, and it's extraordinarily easy to get people to believe something that may not be true. The errors were not random. Under any sort of pressure, they presumed that all of the statements that they heard were true, regardless of whether they were labeled true or not. In this experiment, they literally had a color code of red to show you it was false, and green to show you it was true, and even with the color coding that should alert your brain that something's not true or something is true, they still believed everything. Whoa. So why is this? How we form beliefs was shaped by the evolutionary push towards efficiency over accuracy. Abstract belief formation, that is, the beliefs that are outside of any direct experience that we have, conveyed through language, is likely among the few things that are uniquely human, making it relatively new in the scope of evolutionary time. Before we developed language, our ancestors could form new beliefs only through what they directly experienced of the physical world around them. For perceptual beliefs from direct sensory experience, it's reasonable to presume that our senses can't lie. Seeing is believing. In fact, questioning what you see or hear could get you eaten. Is that a saber-toothed tiger over there? Or is that just a bush? Ah! So if you believe it's a saber-toothed tiger or you think it's a saber-toothed tiger, you better respond like it's a saber-toothed tiger or you're dead. From an evolutionary perspective, back in caveman days. We don't quite have that danger anymore, but the belief system is still there. To just automatically believe, oh, looks like a saber-toothed tiger, I'm out of here, even if it's just a bush. It was better to be safe than sorry, especially when you have to run away from a lion. As a result, we did not develop a high degree of skepticism when our beliefs were about things that we directly experienced, especially when our lives were at stake. As complex language started to evolve, we gained the ability to form beliefs about things that we hadn't actually experienced for ourselves, and we tended automatically to believe those things just as strongly as if we had the first-hand experience. Isn't that fascinating, guys? Now here's the problem. You might think, okay, I'll fix this problem. I will update all of these false beliefs in my head. And you can, but it takes some work. Maybe it's not a big deal to you. Most people aren't using a bogus dog age calculator to make medical decisions for their pets, and the veterinarians know better. The bigger risk is in failing to update your beliefs when you get new information. And indeed, we know a lot more about dogs today than our medieval ancestors did. Remember, that belief started in the 13th century. We know a whole lot more now. Advancements in technology, advancements in information. Unfortunately, we still form beliefs without vetting them, and we maintain them even after receiving clear corrective information. Think about all the people who still believe you need to have carbohydrates in your diet to be healthy. Now, that's not to say some people can't have them, but there's this hardened belief that, oh, you need at least like 50% of your calories coming from carbs because you need that for energy, and you need to, have fiber that will, make sure that you're regular, and da-da-da-da-da. And people have all this belief system regarding nutrition, for example, that's, you ask them, where do you get that information from? Oh, it's just true. No, it's not just true. You have to have formed that belief somewhere. And this is now a test. I want you, when you encounter someone who is so steadfast about some belief system, I want you to ask them point blank, where did you come up with that belief? How do you know that it's true? And if their response is, well, everybody knows it's true, cut calories and thus you'll lose weight. That's a belief system that a lot of people have. Fat will clog your arteries. Fat is unhealthy. Eating meat will cause cancer. People believe these things because they've heard them, they've seen them, and they immediately just bought into it hook, line, and sinker. And they've never done the research. Start asking the questions. Get people to think about why they believe what they believe. Could you open eyes to people if you start shining this bright light of why do you believe that? Yeah, you sure can. In 1994, researchers Holland Johnson and Colleen Seifert asked study subjects to read messages about warehouse fire. Some messages mention that the fire started near a closet containing paint cans and gas cylinders, encouraging them predictably to infer that there was a connection. 5 messages later, subjects received a correction saying that the closet was completely empty, and yet they still answered questions about the fire, blaming it on the toxic fumes from the burning paint and citing negligence for having flammable objects nearby. Even when it got corrected, they couldn't undo that belief that was in their head. It turns out that truth-seeking, the desire to know the truth regardless of whether it aligns with our beliefs or not, is actually opposed to the way your brain processes information. Isn't that fascinating? This explains why people in our space of the keto community have such a hard time of explaining why butter's not going to clog your arteries, why eggs are healthy and not unhealthy. This explains so much, right? It kind of helps you understand why people hold so steadfast to these beliefs that simply aren't true. So, step in, help your brain out a little bit. The next time you argue with someone about something that you believe is true, step back, ask yourself, how did you come to that conclusion? And sometimes all it takes is applying just a little dose of skepticism to your own belief system so you can pause to consider changing your mind. So this was adapted, you guys, from a book entitled Thinking in Bets, Making Smarter Decisions When You Don't Have All the Facts. That's pretty fascinating. And it makes you think about, think about all the things you believe in and you believe are true, that you believe are unassailable. Maybe not. I did find one other adjunct kind of article. It actually was adapted from the Center for Clinical Interventions. It's a psychotherapy research training manual, and it talks about how core beliefs are made, which we just talked about a lot of that stuff. I want to go right to how you identify core beliefs and how you can challenge it. Challenging your core beliefs. To evaluate and challenge them, ask yourself, what experiences do I have that show this belief is not completely true all the time? And so this is kind of something in a debate class that is very classic. Sometimes they'll say, what's your position on, and they name a subject. And you tell them, I'm very pro, blah, blah, blah. Okay, I want you to defend anti. And so it makes you have to start thinking critically, challenging your own belief right away. And can I tell you how liberating it is to be in a debate with someone when you not only abundantly know the reasons why you believe something, but I want you to also start thinking about abundantly, why would someone believe the exact opposite? That is such a good skill to have, and it will definitely help you know what you believe and why you believe it. If you fully vet it out and you go through that whole process of looking at things from both sides of issues, and then you come to a belief on what you believe is mostly true based on evidence, based on experience and all the things, it's powerful. And so always ask yourself whether something you believe is completely true all the time. When you've considered all the experiences you've written down, develop an alternative balanced core belief. So write down your belief. Then, what's kind of an alternative belief that could fit within the same paradigm of this situation, but it's different from your own belief? And remember that these experiences show that your unhelpful core belief is not completely true all the time. What would be an appropriate balanced and helpful core belief? So, in the example of a lady named Erica, some of the experiences that go against her core belief, she had a belief in herself that she was unlovable. It might be, when I was in school, I had 4 really good friends. We hung out together every day. Unfortunately, we did not keep in contact after we left school, and I did not have friends But I did have friends who liked me. That's an alternative perspective that would prove she was not unlovable. Number two, I had a neighbor who became quite a good friend. She would tell me a lot about herself. She's married, moved out east, but we occasionally keep in touch. Again, not unlovable. At the hospital where I volunteer, there's someone I sometimes have coffee with. So somebody's in her life. So the balanced core belief, rather than I am unlovable, is, well, not everyone will like me all the time, but some people like me some of the time. So that's cool. All right, so what you need to do is on a sheet of paper, write down the core belief you want to challenge about yourself. So this is like an actionable step, practical step to how you can see if a core belief is real or not. Write down the core belief you want to challenge. Then write down all the experiences that showed that the belief is not completely true all the time. And then from that, create a balanced core belief. I love that. Take a belief you have, write down evidence that to the contrary, that belief is not true. And then based on those experiential things, change your belief to one that is more balanced about what actually is happening. You could also try doing a behavioral experiment to challenge those hard to budge, unhelpful core beliefs. The purpose of doing an experiment is to find out just how true your core beliefs are. Here's how you could conduct that experiment. Write down the core belief that you want to test. Think of some tasks that you could do to test that core belief. Write down what you would expect would happen if it were true, and then carry out the tasks. Record what happened when you carried them out, and then compare the actual results with that prediction of what you thought would happen, and then write down what you might have learned from the experiment, as well as a new balanced belief that fits this conclusion. So, in that example again with Erica, she says, I'm unlovable. So the task is smile and say hello to 5 people she doesn't know. The prediction that she said was they will look away or mumble something and then just walk away. What actually happened with those 5 people? 1 of them mumbled something, 3 of them said hello, and 1 of them actually stopped to talk to her. She also asked 3 people that she volunteered with to have coffee with her. She predicted that all of them would say no. 2 of them said they were busy, and 1 actually decided to go have coffee. So the conclusion is, from this experiment, I realized that I'm not totally unlovable or unlikable. I definitely know some people who like me and are friendly. Therefore, my core belief really isn't as true as I thought it was. So the new balanced core belief is not everyone will like me all the time, but I am likable to others. You like this? I love this, you guys. All right. So that's some good information. Like, have you just ever challenged why you believe what you believe? You know, I'm a big believer in, if you have a belief and you have vetted it out and it's at the very core of who you are, and you have a solid kind of feeling about that's what I believe and it's why I believe it, blah, 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 then great. You're rare. Most people you ask why they believe what they believe, they'll go, because I always have. I think this really influences people in a lot of areas of life. I think people's political beliefs are very manipulative because they've just always believed them. I think people's religious views are the same way. Maybe they just always believed them, so just they became a part of who they were. Maybe just societal things in your life, you just believed them. I'm going to tell you a funny story and then we'll come to you guys. So when my Aunt Jeer, we would go to her house for Christmas every year. And she had this tiny little half a butt kitchen. You know, they say a 1 butt kitchen for a small one. Hers was so small, it was a half a butt kitchen. Little apartment complex in Memphis, Tennessee. And she would cook this ham every year in the oven. But before she cooked it, she would chop off one side and chop off the other side of the ham, stick it in this pan, and then cook it. And so one year somebody said, Aunt Jeer, why do you cut off the sides of the ham? And so it turns out that she learned that when she was a little girl, that's how her mama did it. You want to know why her mama did that? Her mama did that because she didn't have a pan that fit the ham. So she cut off the sides so it would fit the pan. But then Aunt Jeer had a big enough pan for the full ham. But she believed what you do is you cut off the sides of the ham before you cook it. So do you see how that belief system made her think that that's what you're supposed to do to cook a ham, when all it was her mama adapting to not having a big enough pan to cook the ham in. But it became this belief. This is what you do when you cook a ham, because that's what she experienced and observed growing up. How many of us have beliefs like that that's just based on what we've always done? It's funny, right? All right, let's come to you guys here on Instagram first, then we'll pop over to Facebook, and if we have time, we'll hit YouTube. Looks like I've got plenty of time for commentary today, guys, so thanks for being here. JimmyRants.com is the website, as always. Go check out all the past episodes. We're going deep today, y'all, says Blazer Mama. Yes, we need to do that from time to time, and I want you to think about things at a deeper level. That if I do that, then I feel like I've done my job here on Jimmy Rants. Anna says, don't like it, smells awful, so I never used it. Oh, talking about baby powder. Blazer Mama says, Skunk is making a cameo. Yeah, she starts doing this little skunky. She's over there sharpening her claws on the little pain in the butt. Stubborn me? Nah, that's what Brittany said. No comment, Brittany, no comment. Beth says Bruce Lipton talks about the biology of belief, and we can actually make them come to fruition. Yeah, you can literally make yourself believe almost anything. Brittany says, I hate headlines. Yeah, in the health world, I used to do this show called Low Carb Conversations, and literally the whole show, the whole podcast was all about taking all of these headlines that are making news in the world of health, some of them good, some of them bad, and seeing how people believe them just based on the headline. We actually read the story and analyze it. I did the same thing on my show, Keto Talk, and so people believe things just really quickly. And I can't tell you how many times when people listen to like a news story on the nightly television news or whatever, I'll get a call from my mom many years ago, used to. Now she's hardcore keto. She knows what to do. But used to, oh yeah, we heard about something on the news and da-da-da. And I'm like, did you look it up, or is that all you did was listen to the news and what it had to say? Oh, just the news. Yeah. Brittany says someone sees a headline and takes it as the gospel truth, even without seeking out the story. And it's so common, Brittany. It's disgusting. But see, here's the thing. The news media knows this. And this is why a lot of us are frustrated with the media, because when you put out very salacious headlines and you put out very convincing sounding information, people will buy into it, and they know that. How do you think advertising works? They throw out claims in advertising all the time, and so within that, they know if they say something that would capture your attention. Oh, it's gonna remove all the pimples on my face. Here, let me go buy that stuff, and oh crap, it doesn't work. But they got you to buy into it because you didn't vet out whether it worked or not. I'll tell you what I do. When I'm in a store and I'm shopping, I will look at an item that I see is curious. I'll look at the packaging claims and everything on it. And the first thing I do is go right onto Google and look up reviews of that product. I go on Amazon, I go on other websites, looking for what real people who bought this exact item that I'm interested in had to say about it. And these are people who have experiences based on, what they thought about it when they got it. Now, I don't always believe everything. Sometimes people's reviews are so bogus and horrible, but sometimes when you dig deeper and you kind of look for key things about something, like I was looking for a printer recently and I bought one, but the one I was looking at originally looked good from the outside, but then I started looking up what some people were saying about, oh man, you're going to run out of ink fast. The printer head, it starts to become jagged, and it showed very clearly, repeatedly, all these people having the same problems. I'm like, no, we don't want that. So then I bought the little more expensive one, and I've loved it. It's been wonderful, and it had great reviews online. So had I just gone with what I first believed, looking on the shelf, I would have bought a crap printer. So doing a little bit of vetting actually can save you. Facebook is the worst. I avoid it due to all the false articles get spread on there. Yeah, Twitter's pretty bad too. So I wouldn't just put it on Facebook, but Twitter's pretty rough. Blazer Mama, only all the time. I have to challenge myself to check facts. Yeah, it's so easy, and as I read in that article, it's so simple to fall into this. Like, don't beat yourself up. That's the way your brain is wired. Our brains are wired for certainty. We want to know that something we believe is absolutely true. And unfortunately, I had no idea until I read that article that our first inclination with any new information is we automatically believe it until we get evidence to the contrary. Do you see how dangerous that is if you never actually look for evidence to the contrary? It can be definitely a slippery slope, that's for sure. Beth says, I ask, I dig deeper. I have a hard time with those who default to headlines and never seek further. Yeah. Unfortunately, they're more in number than people like you and me, Beth. Blazer Mama says it's a good study in psychology. Oh. Yeah. When I worked in retail and marketing, we read this book that was all about the manipulation of how you frame things, how you say things, how you place things. I'll tell you one little thing in retail marketing. They told us the end caps were purposely where they had the highest margin type of items. Like, they want you to buy the things on the end caps at a grocery store, for example, because you get the most bang for your buck from that real estate space. That is like primo space. Did you know most of the end caps in like a grocery store and Walmart and all that, the product that is on there, they paid to be in that place. Why? Because they know people's brains know if it's on the end cap, it's something special. And so they're kind of led to believe, and it's true, that that's where stuff is. Do you ever notice in the candy aisle, they put a whole lot of candy on like really the bottom part of the shelf? The reason they do that is they know little eyes are down there at that level, and that's why a lot of candy is on the bottom parts of shelves. And so they know that that's a very creative marketing space. And so it's kind of interesting how things can be manipulated just based on what they know human behavior is like. This was my Facebook memory today. If in the last few years you haven't discarded a major opinion or acquired a new one, check your pulse. You may be dead. Beth, that's great timing for today's Jimmy Rant, so thank you for sharing that. People hate debating with me, says Brittany, because I always ask for evidence. Oh, bring me the evidence. And I think that's a good thing to always keep in mind, that if someone's going to come at you full bore about something they believe, and people often like criticize me. Well, you don't like to be criticized. No, I love being criticized. But I want you to bring your evidence. Don't just criticize and do what's called an ad hominem attack. Don't just personally come after me and say I'm fat. Okay, great. Thank you for stating the obvious. Now, what's your debate item? Let's have the debate. Let's have the conversation. And so when you start to do that with people, most people are not prepared with the evidence of why they believe what they believe. And then all they have left is to attack you personally. And so bring your A game. Tell me why you believe what you believe. And here's the thing. If you tell me why you believe what you believe, maybe you convince me of a belief that I have that could be wrong to change my mind. But I can't do it if you're attacking me personally. So I welcome any and all criticism. Just don't say a name about me. Don't ridicule me. Don't do anything like that. Let's just have conversations, like an adult, It's not hard, people. Bridget says, ever since Corona, my husband and I are disgusted with all the headlines, shock value, and useless stories. Yeah, everybody has become BuzzFeed, Bridget. If you're not familiar with BuzzFeed, they literally live off of clickbait headlines. And so, you're never going to believe these 12 celebrities and the things they did last night. And so you click on it and you, okay, that was kind of a letdown. And yeah, you're right. With all the coronavirus headlines, it's just about getting eyeballs and not really about informing people. Ever since I took a marketing class in college, I look at the world so much differently. I think if people understood marketing and the tactics that are used, then yeah, you would see the world in a much, much different place. Blazer Mama, yes, sometimes a little extra money at the beginning saves you in the long run. Yes, it really does. Like that printer I got, you guys, it never needs any printer cartridges. It uses this liquid ink and it lasts 10 times longer than one of the cartridges. And one cartridge for that other one was going to be $70 a pop. So $70 a pop, and this printer came with the ink. So really, I think I'm going to come out ahead in the end because I did that due diligence. Let's see. I left Facebook 2 years ago. Can't stand it, says Bridget. Yeah, you're not alone. Beth says the ham story reminds me of the story of the man who was told by his doctor that he had a few weeks left to live. He went to the tailor to get a very expensive suit. The tailor measured him and his neck and said it was $17.50. The man said, no, it's always been $16.50. The tailor said, as you wish, but it will choke you and you'll be dead in a few weeks. That's a good story. Thank you for that. Blazer Mama says, yeah, retail is all about psychology. It is. Oh, good one, Neo. What did Neo say? I missed Neo's comment. Neo, I'm trying to see what you said. What did Neo say? I don't see Neo's comment. Somebody said, good one, Neo. And what did Neo say? Say it again, Neo. I want to read what you said. What's the printer? I knew somebody was going to ask that, Bridget. I'm going to have to, I don't know. I think it's an Epson something. So I'll go look what it is when I'm done. Maybe I'll take a photo and I'll DM you that, Bridget, when we're done. Not enough space to tell the story correctly, but I think you got the gist. Yes, Beth, I got the gist. Thank you, Instagram Live. Always a pleasure to see what you have to say. Now let's pop over here to my Facebook page. What's up, guys? Thanks for being here today. We'll be with you guys here in a minute on YouTube. See what you have to say about this topic here today on Jimmy Rants. I had no idea about the dog age thing, Kira said. Yeah, I always believed it was 7. You just multiply times 7. Did you know it was just, they just made that up in the 13th century. The things you learn. Kira says everyone believes that drinking 8 glasses of water a day is true, but it must also be bogus. I always thought it should be based on a person's weight to water ratio. That's another one. There is no science that supports drinking 8 glasses of water a day is healthy. Now, that's not to say don't drink water. That's not to say that 8 glasses of water would not be healthy for some of you. But to say carte blanche across the board, everybody and their mama should be drinking 8 glasses of water is ridiculous. So, yeah, that's another one. People just believe. Maybe I'll do a whole Jimmy Rants or some podcast or something on all these beliefs that we have that are just hard-coded, that we all just believe without a doubt in the world of health and nutrition, and debunk them, why they're not true. Lisa also wants to know the name of the printer. I will have to take a picture of it. I guess what... I don't know how I'm going to get the word out to you, but it's Epson. I got it at Sam's Club. It was about $250. I don't know. I guess I could post it on social media, but that would be awkward. To all you who wanted to know the name of the printer that I had. But if you look in Sam's Club and $250 printer, I think it was the only one that was $250, so you might be able to find it that way. All right, let's pop over here to my YouTube channel, see what you guys have to say about this one. Harpsy says 1960s television had major effect. Family shows, food advertising, pushing high carb food. Yeah, that's true. Cancer seems more likely to be encouraged by high blood sugar. Oh, for sure. Shirley says it's easier to have someone convinced to believe something than to convince them what they believe is wrong. Oh, how true is that? Just ask a vegan how they like being challenged about their diet beliefs. I have yet to meet a vegan who thinks you are the most wonderful person in the world if you challenge them on their veganism. And a lot of veganism, you guys, is based heavily on what we're talking about here today. They believe with all their heart that even touching an animal will make them like burn in hell. You know, they literally have these belief system, because you can't hang on to a nutritional approach like that is totally devoid of all animal products and honestly believe that it's a healthy way to eat. Not in light of the vitamin B12 deficiency, the essential amino acids. I mean, I could go on and on about the flaws that are in the belief system of veganism, but veganism in that way is almost cultish because they have such a hardcore belief in what they believe in, and it's not based on anything. And when you present them evidence to the contrary, their brains go bat crap crazy on you, and they just like, oh no, it's real. I eat 30 bananas a day and I'm healthy, and you're fat because you eat lots of meat. Yeah, that's a big one. All right, let's see if there's any other comments here on Instagram. All righty, so guys, we believe stuff, don't we? We believe things are true. We have very core beliefs within us. All of us do. It's innate. Your brain is hardwired to just automatically believe. Now, I know some of you are very skeptical by nature. A lot of us that have gotten into this nutritional health space and have opened our own eyes to how we believed things were true for so long, and then we realized we were lied to. I think that changes the game. Maybe that alters some of that wiring in some of us, because I used to be one of those that would just automatically believe things. But since I realized how much we were lied to about things, it makes you want to be skeptical. And if you're not naturally skeptical of information, maybe today's Jimmy Rants puts that on your radar screen. I'll tell you what got it for a lot of people was when it was a couple of years ago now that they found some old papers from a research study into the damaging effects of sugar. And they found these in the basement of one of the researchers. The research never got published because it was squelched. It was pushed down and told not to be brought out to the public because it would be running counter to the belief they wanted people to have about saturated fat being the enemy in your health. And so, we can't put this sugar study out because it will make people believe sugar is harmful. And we're about to put a whole bunch of sugar in a lot of processed foods that are low in fat because that's what we're telling people to believe. They didn't want the evidence to come out there that would be contrary to this belief they were trying to make people have, that saturated fat made you fat, gave you heart disease, and all the rest. And so when that came out, the revelation came out that they found this research study that had been squelched. It was in a box, in a dusty box in a basement of this researcher that died, and they found it, and it came to light, you guys, and it was shocking. Not to a lot of us, because we've been skeptical about the whole low fat and fat being unhealthy for the longest time. But for the mainstream of people that always believe, there's no evidence of sugar, blah, blah, blah. But there is, and there was. In the late 60s is when that was going to come out. And it was squelched for the purpose of shaping your belief. So this is happening. So I hope you take away from this Jimmy Rants to be skeptical, to question everything about what you believe. And it's not to try to shake you up in any way, shape, form, or fashion other than to make you think about why is it that you come to these core beliefs that you believe in your heart of hearts. That's it for this episode of Jimmy Rants. JimmyRants.com is the website. As always, you can engage live in the content, but you got to go follow me right here on Instagram. I am at Living Low Carb Man, LIVINLOWCARBMAN. Once you're there, you can engage live and enjoy the content like these people down here did here today. We usually go live at 11 a.m. Eastern, Monday through Friday. Sometimes we throw in a 5 p.m. Eastern, Monday through Friday, sometimes on the weekends, but almost always at 11 a.m. Eastern, Monday through Friday. We also simulcast over here on my Facebook page, so thank you guys for being here today, as well as over on YouTube Live. Thank you for streaming with us here today on Jimmy Rants. If you missed the live here on Instagram, they do put it up over on IGTV, so as soon as we're done here, I will put in some notes and it'll post on my Instagram page, and it goes right up to IGTV instantly, so go check out the replay there. You can also check it out at JimmyRants.com, all the past episodes, as well as over on YouTube. Type in the keyword Jimmy Rants. You will find the show. So guys, that's it for now. Until next time, we'll see you then. And